have something really good, a hot topic in the news this week. He's been charged with crime. This is a show where I try to educate real stories. Thank you for watching Truth and Justice with Vivian King. I'm very excited. I have my usual co-host in the studio, Danny Sneed, and I also have Miss Teana Watson. Teana Watson is my partner in crime. She's a criminal defense lawyer, just like me, and she was a prosecutor in the Fort Bend County District Attorney's Office for many years. She's been a lawyer for many years, 25 plus years, and she is running for judge of one of the criminal district courts, that's one of the felony courts in Fort Bend County. Guys, we need more judges who are representative of the community. Fort Bend County has become very ethnically balanced, I should say, or ethnically diverse, but yet when you look at the judiciary, when you go there, it's not very diverse. And that's not bad necessarily, but what about, sometimes I worry about the judges and the probation officers and all the leaders in the court trying to create programs and issue justice for people who don't look like them. We need more diversity on the bench. We need people like Teana Watson, experienced, smart, able and capable to add to the discussion with the judges. The judges make a lot of policies, like bond policies, and wouldn't you like Teana at the table when those policies are made? They make decisions as to probation programs. They help approve fundings and programs. Wouldn't you want Teana at the table when those decisions are being made by judges? I would. Teana, tell us why you're running for judge.
Thank you, Vivian, very, very much. Yes, first off, the district courts in Fort Bend County cover both civil and criminal jurisdiction. 80% of the docket is criminal, and my background is as a former prosecutor. I started my career off in the DA's office in Fort Bend County, rose up to chief prosecutor, and then I started my law firm. My law firm represents persons accused in criminal matters as well as civil matters. I've had my law firm over 20 years. I've handled cases from capital murders on down. And I've also served as a municipal judge for the city of Stafford for a period of time, so I have some judicial experience. I'm running for district judge of Fort Bend County because, yes, we need people who understand the community. We need people of diverse backgrounds. I'm from Sunnyside. Shout out to Sunnyside House. And I understand communities. I understand poor people. I understand working people. I understand what it takes when somebody needs a chance, when somebody gets caught up. I represent people. I've also prosecuted people. So I understand what it's like to disseminate justice. Yes, some people do need to go to prison, and I understand that. And victims need to be heard when they've been victimized. But also some people need second chances. And some people need a person on the bench who can understand where they came from and at the same time can really try to make a difference in the community. And that's why I'm running for judge. It's a great honor. I want to educate the community on why it's important. We are in the criminal justice system many times at the level of the consumers where we're feeding it, and we're not the leaders. We're not the people making the decisions. We're not on top, and we need to start being on top of the food chain. You hit on something. Fort Bend County is one of the most racially diverse counties in the country. Pretty much it's 25, 25, 25, 25. That's African American, Hispanic, Asian, and Anglo. Wow. But the judiciary is all Anglo and one Hispanic female judge right now. We actually have one African American sitting until December, and it's not an elected position. She's in a caretaking position. So we have not had an African-American elected judge in Fort Bend County, and I think it's time.
I agree, Teana. It's time, and we want to let people know that they have a choice. What we want to do on this show is educate people about the criminal justice system. We need to know who our judges are. I want you to stop complaining and get involved. We need to know. So hopefully, I know Teana has a website, Watson for Judge, and make sure you check out her website. And Teana, one of the things I think your website should have, and mine too, mine does not have, and that is who the judges are and how long they've been on the bench. We need to educate people and let them know when judges are elected. So I'm going to add that by September 1st.
Sure.
I'm going to add it to my website since that's when the election really gets on and popping in September.
Exactly.
And I have a new lawyer starting to work for me in the late part of August. I'm going to have him put down probably all of Harris County, but I might put Harris County and Fort Bend County and Montgomery County and even Brazoria County and say who the judges are and how long they've been on the bench and what party they are. Because people need to know, and they need to have an information source. And as lawyers, I think we have a duty to explain that, even on our regular website, even if it's just links.
Sure.
We should let people know, because I know, Danny, you've been involved with the criminal justice system, but if it's been in Houston, now that you are in Houston, I mean, do you know who the judges are?
Yeah, a few of them, based on my relationship with you and the work doing with the Vivian King Law Group, and also with the organization I joined, a political grassroots organization, Texas Advocates for Justice. One of the things that my organization realized is one of the ways to end the only way you're going to end mass incarceration is by changing laws and policies. And who are those people that enforce laws? Who are the people that write the laws? So that led me to realize you're going to have to know who our politicians are. So you have to sit down and have conversations with them and outline your grievances and based on what you want to see done. And that's going to be done through changing policies and laws. So how is that going to happen? I had to learn what their process is. So one of the things that's good about me being here and having this conversation is when you do become elected, based on having a meeting with you, I can spearhead and ask my organization, hey, I know this judge, I met her. I believe I can set up a meeting and have a conversation with her and let her hear what our grievances are, the barriers that affect people of incarceration when they return to Houston, Texas. And
let me say this before you get there. Why wouldn't you set up that meeting now to get her elected? Because one of the problems is the status quo is, this is the problem with our community. And I'm not saying this to be, this is a good opportunity for me to have this discussion because I was going to get to this anyway. One of the things Teana and I talk about is we can spend all the money we have saved in our life to become a judge, but in our community, the minority community, you're nobody until you are the judge, but no one helps you become the judge. So everybody asks for favors and conversation with us once we become elected, but when we're trying to become elected, we stand alone. People don't help us. And so that's one of the issues I think that we have. And I want to talk about that. So I think it would be a better opportunity for you and your organization to talk to Teana now, because maybe you can help her become a judge. Because once she's a judge, she has to follow the law, wherever the law leads her. She can't be biased one way or another. Now, keep this in mind. Judges are naturally biased because we're all biased people. So where the law leads me might not be where the law leads a 75-year-old white male that's on the bench. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because it's still about perspective.
Can I pivot to something that's actively going on when you mention the judge?
Only after you make your comment on, I want to discuss that.
Okay,
can your organization,
I'll sit back a point.
I want you to know, why wouldn't you think of talking to her now?
Well, I appreciate you bringing that to my observation, because tomorrow we meet, and we only meet once a month. So, of course, tomorrow when we sit down and we talk, this is one of the things I can bring up, because we're a new organization. Texas Advocate for Justice has only been around a couple of years, and we're building and we're growing. And that insight you gave me is something that maybe we need to think about.
Because you don't have judges that look like you, because groups don't help them become there. They just complain when they're there. Okay? So, and you don't complain to the ones that are there now. So the ones who are there now or insulated from complaints. They don't advertise in your community. That's why you really don't know who the judges are. No one in the African American community in Harris County knows, because you don't see their signs in our community. The 22 felony judges, the ones that are not black, do not advertise in our community. I only know them because I go to court every day, but I have never seen their signs in 3rd Ward, never.
And in Fort Bend County, all the judges are all of the same political party.
They're all Republicans.
All of them.
And all of ours are, except for the few that made it with Obama, and it's just a very few. I mean, I think we might have 3. I mean, I'm talking like if we have 300 or something judges, if we have 350, 345 are Republican and 5 are Democrats. So listen to me though. And so, but you don't know, you couldn't even start saying their names, because you've never seen their sign. Now, if you heard it, it's because, like you said, you've worked with me. You know, this is the judge on, James Fields' case. You've heard me say that name, but you didn't see the sign in 3rd Ward. You didn't see that sign on Gray by a Church, because you're not going to see them. They don't have to advertise in our community. That's what's so arrogant about it. And they get to go home at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon if they're not in trial, and no one from our community requires anything of them. But if you see someone black, if someone black is lucky enough to squeak in, our community is going to wear them out. They're going to ask them to come to every meeting. They're going to ask them to come to every political group. You ours, you belong to us. You did nothing to help me get there. And usually if you see black judges, they got there in the Republican Party because someone helped them get there in that party. But I'm telling you, that's a part of a syndrome we've got to break. And that's why I do Truth and Justice, and I give back. We've got to learn to give and not take. And so I'm not saying you're taking, but I'm just saying as a general, look at the big picture umbrella. Or grassroots organizations going out looking for those running for judge to help them. Because if y'all have 50 people have at least 100 people on their Facebooks. So those 50 people who have 100 could get 10,000 people maybe to know about Teana by the time the election comes in November. Because the Republican Party, they're going to go all vote straight ticket. They've been doing that ever since I've been here in Houston, and I've been out of college for 36 years. We have got to change that paradigm. So I'm asking for your groups, that group and the other groups you're in, please stop asking people who are overworked and try to help those people who need your help. Because, like, I need your help. Teana needs your help. It's not always about us helping you. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to everybody, because I'm worn out. Every day I stop at 12 o'clock at night, and Teana knows this, and we're exhausted. We cry to each other on the phone, Danny. We cry. We're going to cry tonight. We cry real tears, because all we have is people asking us to do something. Will you do this? Right. Will you do that? Will you do this? We can't take it no more. And so I'm just saying, I know that you didn't mean for that, but I just wanted to let you know that that was going to be part of my segment tonight, so that was a good, because I know you mean nothing but good, because I know you be working your ass off too. So every day, 7 days a week, with me some days, 2 days of the week you with me after you get off your job. So I'm not talking about you, but thank you for letting me be the sounding board for the yous I wanted to talk about, because I'm not talking about you. But I'm just saying, because you don't mean it that way, and groups don't mean it that way. But they have to ask, have we asked Judge McSpadden, Judge Barr, Judge Brown, Judge Mendoza? I can start naming, have you asking them? You know what I mean? They get to just run home every evening. But if it's us, we're gonna work us to death. True. So what's your comment on that?
No, it's absolutely right. And you're Texas advocates for justice. So when you think about it, that's part of your advocacy. It's getting people who look like you, who think like you, who probably come from your background to the bench. Advocate for those types of people. And these other folks don't fit that bill. And they don't go to the churches, they don't live in the neighborhoods, they don't fit the bill of the people that you're trying to advocate for justice. And so I think that that's a great idea. And we have to start doing that. We don't advocate enough. We
don't help enough. We ask, but we don't advocate. And advocating is helping. And you should ask some current judges. I can give you a list of them. You should call them and ask them to come to your groups. And so they can look at you in the eyes, and you can ask them, what are you doing for second chances? That's when you're going to get your blank stares. That's when you're going to get, I'm revoking bonds every day if somebody's 5 minutes late. So we're going to spend $30,000 a year to house them in jail to wait for their trial because they were 5 minutes late. But they're there. So they're there. If you want to go to trial, they're there. I mean, so I'm just saying the groups should be asking the current judges to come and talk to them. Are going to talk, because that's where some of the change needs to be. We need people like Teana to help change what's there, and we need to try to ask the judges who are there to change.
Well, I appreciate both of you guys' feedback, and it definitely has broadened my perspective of the approach that the organization that I'm a part of wants to take. And the thing that was interesting is that when you say the group that's most affected are Hispanics and blacks, especially that are being incarcerated. And it's not just going in the system, it's coming out of the system, all the barriers that affect us. And what we want is just to have a conversation and sit down and see that some of the things that we outline that you may not even be aware of because you're too busy focusing on doing your job as a judge. You may not get a chance to read all the statistical things that are going on to certain groups.
And know this, they do know, but they don't have to care.
Exactly.
Because groups like yours don't ask them. That's what we're trying to tell you. Minority groups beat up minorities. They don't go to the majority, and that's where the problem is. The majority is the one that's revoking bonds. It's not Teana. The few judges we have in Harris County that look like Teana don't do that. So I'm just saying the people that have created since the 80s this mass incarceration are the people that you need to be asking to come to the table and asking them why. You need to be telling them what is going on with your life or little Johnny's life. They read all the statistics. They go to seminars. They know the statistics just like you. They don't care because no one's made them look in the eyes and say, this is how you affected this person's life. You see what I'm saying? All they look at is I'm protecting the victim. But they don't realize that sometimes the victim can be the defendant's family and their children are being victimized too. They know it. But they don't care because groups don't they don't hold them accountable. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Exactly.
Judges are not held accountable. Black judges are.
Correct.
Black people running for judge are. When you run for judge as a black person, you get preyed on by all the organizations. I never knew how many preachers could ask me for money, how many black people in black organizations could ask me for money. Now here I am spending 60 grand out of my own pocket, unbeknownst to me. I didn't know I was going to end up spending that much. No black organization tried to give me anything. They asked me for things. Now, why should I be giving you when the moment I win, if I win, you'll be asking me for favors? Do you understand what I'm saying? Look at how counterintuitive that is. So I got to go meet with the black preachers and give you money?
Right.
Because you think I'm going to be fair? I mean, that's wrong. I mean, you feel so pimped when you run for judge. I felt pimped by my own people. I was heartbroken. Some other lawyers who'd run like Sandra Peak said, Vivian, you don't understand what they're fixing to do to you. You think that those black preachers are going to help you? They're going to ask you for money. And if you don't have it, they tell you they're not going to endorse you.
So
that's what they tell you at the meetings. Excuse me. That's what they tell you. So, I mean, just think of how painful that is to hear. But yet, and I even told
and if you of a certain political party, you may be helping the party out. You have to fund the party.
Yep,
instead of the party helping you.
Yeah, when you run for judge,
you're helping to fund the party.
We have to give the Democratic Party $10,000. Now, how much money? And if I have a fundraiser, I remember Waverly Nolly gave me and two other candidates a fundraiser. He spent $1,200 on food. We raised about $400. Okay, because when people come to eat and drink, black people, they're gonna give you $5 or $10. But I'm just saying, but the food costs that much.
Well, don't blanket statement. Don't put a blanket over.
I'm telling you what I observed.
Some.
I'm just telling you about one experience. This is
okay.
Specific. I am telling you and complaining about a specific fundraiser where someone wrote a $1,200 check for the food and entertainment, and we raised $400, and everybody there was black. I'm just telling you.
Was there any good experiences? Was there any good experiences?
Well, that's not what we're talking about now. We're educating you about what we go through because that's something you don't know.
I just need a feel-good moment.
I can't do it right now.
I know, because right now it looks all bad.
Well, no, it's not that, because you're categorizing into good and bad, and we're just giving facts. And what you have to understand is, as criminal defense lawyers, we deal with bad facts, and so we're trying to ask you, and we deal with some good facts, but we want you to deal with the facts, and the facts aren't always good, but you can change those facts in your organizations. But if you don't know, you think it's cool to ask her for a meeting, but that's not cool because you're draining her one more time when she needs to be trying to win. It ain't nothing she can tell you now, but a real sitting judge can. So those are the ones, I'm just telling you, those are the ones you need to be asking to come to your meetings. And don't be afraid because they're your electorate. Y'all elected them. So they should be coming, doing their community service because they've been elected by the community. Teana has not been elected by the community.
But there are some good times. I mean, we hope to think that we're role models to the degree that young persons can look at us and see that, number one, we have reached the point of being an attorney. Number two, we aspire to become a judge and make a difference. And number three, we can win. I mean, you have to first run to win. And so we hope that by doing what we're doing, we're making some, if just a appearance impact, that people, young people especially, can say, you know what, I'm going to do that one day. And I can see myself doing that one day. And so we hope to think that makes a difference. But it is very tiring, and, you know, we just keep on going.
Well, Miss...
Hold that thought. I was trying to let her finish. We have a phone call, so thank you for calling Truth and Justice, and state your question or comment, please.
Good afternoon, Ms. King. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Fine. You are absolutely correct in terms of the process that in electing judges and all, mainly because when all these elected officials go out there to these different organizations, they're all seeking money. They want money rather than calling the candidate up and talking to them and inviting them over and asking them what can they do to assist them and let them know what it would take to assist them in doing what they need to do, which is get elected and all this other stuff like that. And that's just the way it is in the black community. They continually, and that's why we don't get a lot of people elected. But the candidates themselves have to get more encouraged to go out and approach these groups also. You know, I know they got to go raise money in order to carry on. But with basically everything that you said in terms of the process and what goes on and all that, that's actually happening. And I don't want to throw no water on what the young man is saying in there, but it's no light to shine on it if you deal with politics. Politics and everything you deal with is going to have some drastic effect on you in this society.
Thank you so much for calling, and thank you for listening. Sorry if I am being negative. I'm just trying to state the facts. Danny's great.
Oh, no. Hold on a minute. You're not being negative.
Because the process,
I wasn't saying that. I'm agreeing with you on what you
I know
said.
you are. No, I know you are. I'm apologizing to Danny. No, you helping me state the facts, so I got you, Mr. Provost. I got you, and I catch your voice too.
You didn't have to call my name.
Well, it's a lot of Mr. Provost in Houston, so nobody knows which one it is. I know about 5.
No, but that's correct, and. If he get his organization and deal with it the way you telling it, I think that organization there would probably have a great deal of impact and could really do some things, a lot of positive things, and probably take you farther than where you even imagining at this present time.
Thank you. I'm going to give him a list of judges and their phone numbers so he can call them. Thank you for calling, and thanks for watching.
All right, anytime. Thanks.
Thank you. So that's it. But I'll give you a list of those to do. And like I said, what I love about you, Danny, is you trying, and you didn't know that, because I'm just saying it's an exhausting road. I mean, the first time you go to one of these, you have to go to like 25 endorsement meetings. The Mexican American lawyers, this group, that group, and they all want, not all, but a lot of them, a lot of the minority groups want money. The League of Women Voters don't want money.
Right.
The Mexican American lawyer bar, they don't ask you for money.
Right.
But when you start going to our organization, that's what makes you want to cry. We already are underrepresented, and here I am putting myself out there, risking judges being mad at me for running against them at the courthouse, risking messing up some of my clients' cases because the judges are retaliatory because they're all in one sorority or fraternity. And here I am sticking my neck out trying to do something. Everyone who knows me knows that lawyers generally make more than judges, so it's not about the money. You would only think that if you don't know anything about lawyering. But it is a retirement, and it is a safer path to, it's still a good salary. I'm not trying to say it's not. But you don't have the overhead that we have in business. So everyone knows that you're putting yourself out. If they're other lawyers know you're putting yourself out, and most other lawyers would never do that to themselves. They would never risk. Other lawyers in the courthouse, Danny, are afraid they won't even give us campaign contributions. We could probably raise $50,000 off of them easily, but if they give you a campaign contribution, it has to go on. Their name is going on their campaign finance report, and we're Democrats, so and we have to do, like, every quarter, we have to do a campaign finance report. You do about 3 in one election. And so the Republican, if I give her money, the Republican she's running against is going to see that she gave me money, and they're going to blackball me. That's what you don't know. I'm blackballed right now by some because I helped get some signatures at our church just to be on the ballot. And I had to get another judge to intercede for me and tell that judge, you're blackballing Vivian, but Vivian wants you to know that she gave you money when you ran 15 years ago. Did you forget? And she was never a Republican, but she gave you money. So how you going to blackball her for helping a Democrat? That's not, how you gonna, so I had to get somebody to intercede for me so that my client wouldn't be punished. And this was just a few years ago. This was on the last gubernatorial. Was that 2 years ago? Just 2 years ago. And as established and esteemed as I am, I had to get somebody, and it was a judge that's been on the bench for about 15 years, that when I was a prosecutor, I used to cut her some slack. But then she's become a Republican, and she's mad at me because I helped somebody just get signatures. I didn't even give them no money. Was blackballing me. Okay, so you have to understand, Teana is running as a Democrat, so she's walking every day into that courthouse of all Republicans.
That's right.
Being blackballed, and her clients, then our community is asking her to give me. And then she's got to deal with that, and clients coming in to pay. It's like, ooh, am I going to pay you to hire this case? Because if you win for judge and I've gave you, you know, X amount of dollars, then what's going to happen with my case if you win? So now nobody wants to hire you. So, I mean, just think of the quagmire that we put ourselves in once we run for judge. And so our community needs to know that. So we need help. We don't need somebody to ask us for money. Because what's insulting about the preachers doing it is that, first of all, they're all 501(c)(3)s, so they play like they can't advocate for one side or another.
Right.
And then they can't get involved in politics. And then the people in the congregation of a church that's going to vote are going to vote anyway. I mean, they're voting people, and they're going to usually vote Democrat. So why should I have to pay a preacher
for a vote you're already going to get?
So what you doing with the money?
Big screen.
And they be wanting $500 and stuff. It ain't no little amount of money. And then you got your party wanting $10,000. But I'm like, but Democratic Party, you're not going into the black community like I am. You're going to go into the mainstream community. And Democrats who are going to vote anyway. So unless you're going to do something new with this $10,000, I've had to charge my payment plan for the $10,000. $2,500, $25,000. I've had to charge it on a credit card. Okay? And don't know if it's paid yet because it's commingled with all the other money that's charged on my big credit card.
So you have to pay to play?
Yeah, they asking for money. Everybody's asking you for money. And the thing is, when you're running for judge and it's criminal, the only people that you're really benefiting are blacks and Hispanics who are disproportionately hurt in the community.
Here we are.
But y'all not giving to the campaigns. You see what I'm saying? Because you just want fairness. If you run for civil, which
most of us can't vote.
Well, a lot of you can. And if you can't, your mamas can. The ones who still have mamas. You know what I mean? Most of the kids have young mothers that can still vote, and daddies. And I mean, most of them.
But the truth of the matter is most of you are not voting, and that's a big problem.
Vote.
But you can vote.
Right. Most people ain't just got out parole. Most kids these days just go to state jail, and they can vote the day they get out of state jail because they're not on parole.
And I mean, if you put that out there, because
we do.
I mean, by you saying that puts the information out.
As well as if they're off paper. If they're off parole, they can vote.
The issue is you just have to be off paper. You know, we put it out every election time, and the people registering people to vote. Let me remind you, I've said this 100 times, but you have to be off paper to vote. So the day you got off paper, you know, you could vote. You could register to vote. And so, but most of these kids, listen, every election time, we set up for like 2 weeks, we set up in front of the criminal courthouse and we register people to vote. So we're involved. I'm just saying, in Harris County, we've registered people to vote every time in front of the jail to let them know and to disband the rumors. I've made flyers, I've passed it out. And so, but I'm still telling you, when you do that, a lot of times people will argue with you for an hour about registering to vote and why it's not helpful.
And then we wonder why the system is the way it is.
Right, because
now you hear all of this, and now you wonder why it's mass incarceration, why we're underrepresented in the judiciary and overrepresented as clients and defendants, why we have so much injustice. Now we're answering it. Why there are not enough minority judges. Now you hear.
And so it's not the bad news, it's the truth. So people always wonder why, but these are the reasons why, and it's bad. It's a lack of participation on our parts as minorities. The black and Hispanic communities are a part of that. we do not take seriously our right to vote. We would rather say it doesn't help than to see what it does to help. That's what we do. I mean, and so, like I said, your organization is great, but you need to deal with the people who are judges now, because they're the ones that should be accountable to your organization, because I'm sure most people there can vote, or they have a loved one who can vote if they're on paper. So I'm just saying that's who needs to be accountable. But see, it's easy to hide when you don't have to campaign. They don't have to get money.
When you look at Houston and versus other cities, and I've been here for a while, and of course, you know, give a little disclaimer that I myself was a part of the system. I spent 15 years in Texas Department of Correction. I spent 26 years on Texas parole. Recently just got out in August of last year.
Yay.
And that following, I think I got out parole on like a Tuesday.
It was in August, I remember that.
Right, and on church on that Sunday, they were registering people to vote.
Right.
And one of the things that I was able to do within 7 days of getting off parole was to register to vote.
Wonderful.
In my own church.
Right.
So, but the opportunity to do that was huge. But I didn't want to just stop at just registering to vote. I believe part of the people that should lead in mass incarceration and making the case that is wrong is the people most effective. That's why I got involved in the political side of restorative justice in mass incarceration. But who best can articulate how bad it was, what their experience was like, than the people that actually went through it.
Sure. Amen.
So not only do I try to do it myself, I solicit and encourage others that are getting out of the system to get involved in this process that I'm in to, hey, let's lead the fight to end mass incarceration. Let's just don't sit back and ask someone and complain like they won't hire us. Y'all need to help us.
Sure.
No, what I believe is we can help ourselves. We can become a voice.
Right.
But we have to surround ourselves with the right type of people.
Correct.
And be teachable, listen.
Exactly.
And like Vivian has been doing, she's laid it out.
Sure.
How you can get through the process, who you need to talk to.
Sure.
And it's enlightening. And what it's going to do is it's going to allow the people that are watching this in my organization to go back and we'll look at what was talked about and critique it and break it down and see how we can better approach the landscape we're in, the politics in Houston, not in Austin, not in Chicago, but right where we live. How we're going to go out and have a conversation with you, you know, judicial candidate, Teana Watson.
Yes.
Roughly 2.2 million people are locked up in prison, and 7 million of them are under correctional control, which includes parole and probation. And did you know that more than $80 billion is spent every year to keep people incarcerated? And what we would like to do is see that how that once you become elected, what methods will you use to reduce this number from 2.2 million to 2.100, 900, 999? You know?
Exactly. That's a great question. First of all, you have to understand that I know those numbers. I've lived those numbers. I've been a part, unfortunately, in that system has been a system that I've participated in on one side or the other. So you have people who have not really paid attention or have been ignorant of those numbers. That's first off. So once you have to recognize there is a problem, and I do recognize it. Second, you have to understand that there are alternatives to incarceration and what those alternatives are and how effective they can be. You have to understand that not only there are programs, but there are also churches, there are also employments, there are also vocations. There are things that we can do, we can put into place to give people an alternative, to give them an opportunity. Unfortunately, like I said, you have to understand that I'm a person that understands people can get caught up. That's not to make excuses, but there's an understanding there. And so policies have to take place. For example, even the pretrial, the bond policies are oppressive because what happens if you can't get out, you eventually plea out. If you are innocent sometimes, you plead your case out just to get out of jail, especially if they're offering you time served. And there are policies in place now that we can do for people who are poor, people who are mentally incompetent or mentally have shortcomings and deficiencies, we need to protect them more. And we're not doing that. And as a result, they're getting records and they're part of that mass incarceration. So you have to have people that, one, have an understanding, two, people who care, okay? And definitely once you sit down, you talk to a person, you know where they come from, you know what they've been doing, you'll have an understanding that this person not only understands, cares, and then thirdly, they will implement and how they'll implement it. But your group needs to advocate for more people, I believe, like me, to get in these positions where we can make that change.
Right, because they can't make the change saying what we will do, because you have to remember, judges are just the referees of the participants. So you want fair judges, but you also want fair participants. You want the DA to come talk to you, because you want to make sure that they're not just accepting charges on any kind of little cases. I mean, they need to be more serious cases, not just on little bitty nonviolent offenses all the time. That shouldn't always be the answer. So just think about talking to the judges now who are accountable to you, who you're paying taxes to, and you're paying for their salaries. And they have no boss at all because the electorate, us, don't know who we're electing. So that's who you need to be accountable to. And then whoever wins next time, they'll just fall in line because you've taught them. Because the judges really have allowed the system of mass incarceration to get out of control. Mm-hmm. They're supposed to be the gatekeepers of the Constitution, but yet a lot of the policies are oppressive, like the pretrial bond. Right. I mean, that's one of the things I ran on when I ran the first time was the fact that our judges weren't giving pretrial bonds. And to my happiness, a lot of that's changed now in Harris County. But I bought the statistics. I gave it to the Houston Chronicle. They endorsed me because I showed that the court I was running against hadn't given a pretrial bond in the 14 years she'd been on the bench. Now she's giving them. Okay, so by running, we do change some things. We got to focus on that rather than a lot of conversation and meetings. We need to help that group. Sure. You know, I don't have a lot of money, but when Teana has a fundraiser, I try to send a little something here because she has to get to the masses. But what y'all can do is advocate for judges who are fair and send out, because the great thing about now is you don't always have to give a lot of money to judicial candidates now. If you get on your Facebooks and you get on your Twitter accounts and you have a big following, you can tell people why it's important to vote. You know, we didn't have that type of communication before. It was just signs and being on radio shows. But
and President Obama used that very effective in his first. He did. He changed the way people run for office by using Twitter and Facebook. And now we have Mr. Trump using Twitter. You know what I'm saying?
Let me change the subject. Wonderful thing, but okay. But anyway, so one of the questions I'm going to ask all the judicial candidates, I'm going to say it twice to you. It's two questions. How do we gain faith and trust in the judiciary, in the judicial system? And most everyday people think the cards are stacked against them unless they have money. So what's your observation, Ben?
Okay.
Faith, trust, and being poor.
Sure. You gain faith and trust by participating. You have to become a participant, an active participant. You have to know who the people are making the decisions. You have to be there and participate in jury duty when called. You have to understand the grand jury system and what it entails. You have to participate. Once you participate, you make people accountable. As we talked about it, you have to make the judges, make the police officers, make the police chiefs, make the DA. They have to see your face. They have to hear your pain. They have to understand these stories are real. Not just me and Vivian. We hear them all the time.
All day.
These folks need to know that when you put a theft case on an 18-year-old, that is going to prohibit him or her from working and gainfully being employed probably for the rest of his or her life. And that you can't do that. Now, before the internet, and this is what I tell people, I practice before the internet and now. That person, if they received deferred adjudication, probably could go on with their lives because their records were not out for everybody.
They weren't available on their computer or on a cell phone.
But the game has changed.
The game has changed.
Completely. And now when an employer sees it, and everybody can see it, you can buy
just Google it.
Data, publicdata.com or any of these things, you're going to hold it against them. And so if you got Mary that has no record and Johnny that has a record, you're going to hire Mary, and Johnny will not get hired. And so it's a big problem that a lot of judges, they know maybe now, but for a while they turned a deaf ear to it, and it has really impacted a lot of communities, especially poor ones.
Well, one of the things your group can do too, let me just change the subject a minute, Danny. If you do get an opportunity to talk to judges, ask them what use is it to revoke somebody's bond if they came to court 5 minutes late? Because just think about this: if someone's on a $30,000 bond, so their family has either paid or tried to pay $3,000, and then they're 5 minutes late to court, but they're in court. They're there. They just walked in 5 minutes, and we already know that the lines in Harris County, it might take you 30 minutes depending on how hard it is to go through the security. You're going to revoke their bond and put them in jail, and their case might not. You know, as the judge, you can't even get, this kid said he's not guilty. You can't even get to his trial for 6 months. You know that. That's not his fault. That's your fault that you can't get to it for 6 months. But yet you're going to let him sit in jail and let taxpayers pay $20,000 or $30,000 a year on average to house him in jail. When he had a place to stay, he had a place to live, and he was in the building before docket called. He just couldn't make it up to the stairs. Why would you do that? And judges do that all day long. And people think that they're in cahoots with the bonding companies. I don't know. I'm just telling you. I have people say, that judge must be being paid by the bonding company. That judge must be paid by the ankle monitoring company.
Hey, bonding companies got a lot of power. Bonding companies get paid before we do.
They do. They
get paid before we do.
The people I know who own bonding companies are millionaires.
They get paid.
We're struggling from
Something
client to
wrong
client.
with the system.
Something's wrong with the system. When I know a few lawyers who own bonding companies, and they lawyers younger than us, and they're millionaires, and they on a golf course by 1 o'clock, and we down there hustling every day trying to make from client to client. 1 month I got money to pay everybody, the next month I'm wondering how I'm gonna pay everybody, but they got money. So I'm just saying, people in the court, I hear them saying it. So that's another way we need to create faith in the judiciary. Ask judges when you have them, why are you doing that?
Well, let me
who benefits?
Well, let me add to the conversation several points. One of the things that you said just stood out to me is like you said, if you can't get out, you'll plea out. So I know now that high bonds and revoking bonds.
That makes people plead. Number one.
Of course.
So that forces their hand.
Exactly.
And so that's one of the ways to answer your question. Why would they do it? And
we know it, but we want you to ask those judges. That's what you need to be talking to.
And that's a good point.
Not us. Yeah.
But that's a good point. And another thing is, if prisons stop being built for punishment, and with the privatizations and the prisons that are now that they're built for profit, and you want to follow the money, how does the money affect the judge and the prosecutor if they send more people to prison? If prisons are making profits now.
It doesn't trickle down to
that. Doesn't
so
trickle down
why
to
would
the
they
judge.
want to play into the process that prisons are built for profit, not punishment?
Listen.
Yeah.
Why would they fuel that system?
Let me just say this. First of all, it's two different type of prison systems. So all prisons, I can't say all prisons are made for profit. There are for-profit prisons now that have been woven into the fabric of state and federal run prison. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
So all prisons are not private.
Okay.
Private prison means that I own it, I hire the employees there, and I have a contract with the government to house the prisoners there. But I am hiring the people, okay? They're not government employees, they work for me.
Okay.
Because I'm GO, I own it. But I am created as a private prison because the federal government prison is overcrowded and they need supplement, and Congress does not want to put the money aside to build another prison, so they're just subcontracted out to a private prison. So they're supplemental prisons. They're not the prison. Let me let you know that first, okay? So that can't trickle down to anybody except people who buy stock in GEO like they buy stock in Apple. It's more than one kind of computer. You might have a IBM computer, but you buy a stock in Apple, so that's not going to trickle down to you. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Unless I can, and you wouldn't tie judges and prosecutors into investing in these prisons.
Well, because like the GO I'm talking about is federal, and the judges that she's running against are state, so they're not. They could have that as a part of their portfolio, but you can have it too. I mean, you can buy that stock, so that's just publicly owned. what I believe happens, and I don't know this because I'm not a politician and I don't spend a lot of time in Austin. I'm talking about the Austin legislators, politicians who grant the funding, okay? What they're a lot of times, they're giving statistics on how bad fourth graders are and how bad they're going to project it to be based on statistics of years and years of fourth graders. So they scare people into protecting the victims and building more prisons. No one is lobbying to build programs in vocational schools. No one's, I don't think people are giving them the opposite statistics, saying, well, if we had programs, after school programs for these fourth graders, so they could be there till 7 when their mamas get off work, so we could teach them how to be barbers and electricians. I don't think they're having an alternative. They're just saying they're bad, they're dangerous, they're gangs. And you know, anytime white people hear the word gangs, they think everybody's about to kill everybody. Because, you know, that gang thing is misused. That word is misused. And so then I just think that they're ill-guided because they have a homogeneous type of people, one type of people. The majority are trying to make decisions for the diverse minority. And they don't have people like Teana at the table. You got to have them at the table.
And you have to look at who lobbies for poor people. Who lobbies for the imprisoned?
Who's the voice of the poor?
Right.
Who's doing that?
And so when you start asking and answering those questions, it becomes real clear. But GEO and the private prison groups, they have lobbyists.
They have lobbies.
And other folks have lobbyists. And these are people who are in the ears of people who are making policies, which are laws.
And they're also the people who are spending our money, our taxpayer money. So like Teana's saying, I'm just adding to what she's saying. They're listening, and they got the budget to do it. And these lobbyists are taking them to dinner, taking them to lunch.
Making donations to their campaigns.
We don't know about that.
It's not illegal, is it?
Well, maybe for lobbyists it's illegal, but what we do know is the lobbyists are in Austin during the legislative sessions, and they're going from door to door saying,
grooming.
Will you go with this bill? Will you pass this bill? And they're giving them statistics, like Teana's saying, who's going from door to door for the poor people? Who's talking about the
mass incarceration?
Mass incarceration. Who's talking about the children of people in prison who are just there for minor offenses, but they're there for 5 and 6 years, and they have 4 and 5 and 6-year-olds who have no daddy because he, you know, had two rocks of crack cocaine. Who's lobbying for those children?
Or the over-discipline of the minority kids in school. Who's lobbying for them?
Who's lobbying for them? So this is all a part of our lack of participation in the system. It's our fault. That's what we're trying to make you realize, is that instead, we need to be participating. Who's going to lobby? Mothers Against Drunk Driving, when someone's kid was killed by a drunk driver, a mother created an organization, Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, and they're now one of the biggest lobbyists in Austin because one mother's child was killed by a drunk driver. And she created an organization that is nationwide now. So the issue is, who is lobbying for our children? Who is lobbying for children whose parents are in prison? Now, we're not talking about people who are in prison for killing people and sticking guns in people's faces, because that's not the majority of the people in prison. The majority of the people in prison are for drugs and they're nonviolent offenses.
And MAD makes people accountable. When we were prosecutors, when we had DWIs as misdemeanor prosecutors, we were told MAD gets the statistics of what we do and how we handle a DWI.
And they fund the cops. They fund the overtime programs for the cops to be off work with the county, with the city, and then go work for them on a grant that they're funding.
There was no other offense that you could commit that had the scrutiny of a lobbying group than drunk driving.
Mothers Against Drunk Driving.
Mothers Against Drunk Driving. DWIs were more scrutinized than some very serious offenses because of MAD.
Because of Mothers Against Drunk Driving. And one mama started that.
Well, counselors, if y'all let me just give me a minute. My name is Danny Sneed, and I'm a political activist with Texas Advocate for Justice. And I'm ready and prepared to march to Austin, to stand on the steps of the city of Houston. And my organization is on a mission to end the criminalization of our communities, to break down barriers to reentry in Texas, and to demolish the legacy of racism in the criminal justice system. Texas Advocate of Justice unites formerly incarcerated, returning citizens, individuals, their families, and people of all faiths, and allies to build safe and resilient communities through organizing, leadership training, and connections to the community resources. We believe that we can pull people together in the community, in churches, and through legislators, lawyers, judges, and to get our message out. And I'm committed to this organization. I'm committed because I was most effective. I spent 15 years in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice System. I spent 26 years on parole. And I'm not going to let that all go in the vein. I'm going to turn all that pain into a purpose. I'm going to use all those things that look like that were designed to hurt me and to use them to help someone. So again, I put this to you, judicial candidate, soon to be elected, Ms. Teana Watson, that if you're elected, I hope that you give my group and our organization an opportunity to have a conversation about how we can do something about ending mass incarceration in Texas. Thank you.
Thank you. That's great.
Okay, we got 7 minutes, Teana. So talk about, do you have something that you would like to talk about?
Well, you gave me some homework about Election Day, which is November 8th. I know there's been some elections and runoffs, and voters may be a little tired, but we got a long way to go to November. Last day to register to vote is October 11th. And so we all know some folks that's probably not registered, been moving around, need to get their registration updated. So October 11th, we need to get them right, because if you're not registered, you can't vote.
And let me say this, let me just add this as you say, as you give us some of these pointers. If you're a young person, we need you to vote. Don't believe the hype. I remember the last time I ran for judge, my niece, who was at U of H, said that there was a big Twitter and Facebook going around that if you voted, just voted for Obama, or if you voted straight ticket Democrat, your vote wouldn't count. Don't believe any of that, okay? You can vote straight ticket Democrat, you can vote, and the reason why it's mostly Republicans is because Republicans do vote straight ticket, so don't believe any of that. Vote, and don't forget to register to vote. Like Teana just said, it's October the 11th. And young people, if you've moved, like my niece, she doesn't live the same place she lived 2 years ago. You need to re-register to vote. You can go online to Harris County Votes, and if you live in Harris County, and look for voter search, or just Google Harris County voter search or Fort Bend County voter search, and see where you're registered to vote, because your new registration card went to that last address. So if you lived in an apartment or in a dorm or somewhere else, that registration you can still vote, but you got to have that registration. So you need to print it off of the computer or download it to your phone. But I suggest, if you have a new address, to just re-register to vote. But don't forget to do that. And you can vote anywhere early. It's just that when it comes to the actual election day on November 8th, you have to go to, like if you moved and you used to live on the north side and now you live on the south side, you can vote anywhere until the actual election day. Then you're going to have to go to your precinct on the north side. So that's what a lot of young people did with Obama. The first time, they all ran out and registered to vote, and then the second time, they went to the same place to vote, but they had moved or they changed your polling location as to where you're supposed to vote. So let's not go for the games, okay? Let's go to Harris County Votes and see where you're registered and update.
Yes, and in Fort Bend County, we have countywide voting, which means you can vote anywhere in the county early or election day. Oh, wow. Which means no excuse. There's just no excuse. You can vote countywide.
As long as it's in Fort Bend County.
That's correct.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, it is. So, you know, get involved in the campaign. This is a very, I guess, fascinating election season. You have Trump on the other side saying some provocative things about a lot of folks. Everybody can relate to that. They need to do something about it. You need to get involved and actually make your vote count. Because if you don't vote, you don't count. People really do discount you. They say them people don't vote, and they make policies and they do things that don't affect you, or they do affect you, but they don't feel that you care. And we hear it all the time.
I had something good happen. I had a hairdresser in her 30s who wouldn't have voted. She's registered for Obama, but she wouldn't vote. She said, I am so afraid of Trump that me and my husband have decided we're going to vote.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought that was really good. It's like, we are so scared of what he's going to do that we're actually going to vote. I thought that was intuitive of her. Because just think of that last crazy thing Trump said. I know we don't have much time, but let's just think about this. He said that his lawsuit is before a federal Mexican judge, and so he's biased and should be recused or disqualified. Now just think if Black Americans stood up and said that about all the white judges that judge them. Just think about that. Just think about what Trump said. If that was the standard, he's going to be our president, and that's the standard. So that means that the race of the judge has to be your race before they can judge you. Because that's basically what Trump is saying.
Correct.
And what race is he talking about? First of all, that judge is a part of the human race. That judge is an American. His nationality is American. He's of Mexican-American descent, but he's Caucasian and white for all practical purposes.
And his education is American.
He's American. He's American. I mean, he is born here.
Right.
He was born in Indiana, I think. I mean, so he's an American. So, I mean, that's like, how arrogant is that? I mean, Trump people ain't Indians, so I'm sure that he had some immigrants that came over. Right. So, but I'm just saying, but just think of you when you went before the judges and the 3 times you went to prison. Were any of them Black like you?
Was it 3 times?
Were any of them Black like you? So that means that they're going to disqualify them? Is that the litmus test now? That the judge has to be the same color, skin color as you?
What about the jury?
And what about the jury that's judging you? They have to be the same color? Is that what Trump is saying?
I want my peers. That means everybody I went to high school with.
I mean, just think of how crazy that is. And so Trump now has rallied all of the haters of the world. They're showing how weak we are, how many people that we hate, that hate everybody else in this community. He's gotten all of those people together. And now that he's the heir apparent to the Republican throne, he's going to now, as we watch from now, June 8th on down to November 8th, he is going to be saying, he's going to be backpedaling from all that foolishness, as he was saying, to bring everybody else in the Republican Party together. Is that crazy or what?
He's going to try. The only way he's going to do it is with a teleprompter. Because he can't put together a complete sentence without a teleprompter. I've already seen that. And what Trump proves to me, I think he's good for America in a negative way, because I was in the airport in Atlanta, and I can be at the cool at work or whether I'm driving veterans around. Everybody wants to get involved in the conversation. Now, they may just not talking, but I'm saying it's not going to do any good if you're not going to vote. Mm-hmm. We can talk about the politics and the different sides and the provocative things, Donald Trump, but are you going to vote?
Right.
So when I'm talking with people, I say, what good is this?
You got 30 seconds.
And I'm done.
Okay, so we want to close it out on Teana. So what do you want to say, Teana? You got 60 seconds. Or
well,
90.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Vivian, for having me. It's always a pleasure, Mr. Sneed. Thank you. I want everyone to know the importance of this election November 8th. The importance of going all the way down the ballot. No, I'm not running for president. No, I'm not running for any of the higher offices. But this office is more important in that it will affect you and your family, in that what we do in local politics affects more so your everyday life than the president and the Congress. You need to have people in office who represent you. You need to have people in office who understand you, your needs, what's going on, and understand when they sit in a bench, when they are instituting justice, that they have a sense of where you came from. They have a sense of who you are, and they have a sense of what is right. You need to start having people in office that can truly, truly understand what is right for you and not keep electing folks that don't. So vote for Teana Watson. That's my take.
And
you got my vote.
I'm going to close it down by saying thank you for listening to our point of view. Sometimes I do make extreme examples just to kind of get you motivated to listen and understand this. If Teana is elected, I've known her a very long time. When she wins, she will be a judge for all people, not if you're Black, white, Hispanic, or Asian. For all people, to be a good guardian of the Constitution, to be a gatekeeper to the law, and to be a fair referee to both sides. Thank you for watching Truth and Justice with Vivian King. Please watch next week as we talk about another provocative story in the criminal justice system. Good night. Thank you for tuning in again. Tonight we have something really good, a hot topic in the news this week. He's been charged with crime. This is a show